Welcome to another episode of Don't Call It Small. I'm your host, Natasha Foreman. If you don't know me and you have no clue what this podcast is all about, let me share a bit. I'm the CEO of Foreman & Associates, LLC, where we provide consulting, business support, and professional development services. And Don't Call It Small is where we talk all things business, share tips and news that you can use, and highlight the people and ideas behind the products and services that we buy. To learn more about our team, please visit Foreman LLC. Hello everyone. Another day, another week. I'm happy to be here with all of you. I'm happy to be alive and here with all of you, right? Oh my goodness. I want to shout out some of my friends. My friends Marshawn and Jack Daniels, who I got to hang out with 2 weeks ago and celebrate their 3 bundles of joy, who will soon make their debut into this big, beautiful world. Yes, they're having triplets, all girls. Marshawn had me in tears of joy seeing and hearing her share her journey, and Jack had me giddy. He can't wait to take his girl dad experience to the next level. I don't think I've ever seen a man so excited about becoming a father and even more excited about having multiples at one time. Please keep Marshawn, Jack, and the 3 princesses in your loving prayers. Today is my cousin Greg's birthday and my friend Siobhan Page from Cali. Happy birthday, you too. I also have some belated birthday shout outs. First to my Cali friend who's been holding it down in the ATL for almost 30 years, Kedrick Smith Sr. He's the husband to my childhood friend Erica Smith, who I gave a birthday shout out to in August of last year, and I shouted them out in October in honor of their wedding anniversary. He's the father to my godsons Kedrick Jr. and Kyler. Kedrick Jr. is taller than me now and has a love for basketball, and you should remember 10-year-old Kyler when I highlighted him in his book in episode 15. Kyler wrote a book, I Define Me, which expresses how he, as a then 9-year-old, strives each day facing the complexities of dyslexia spectrum. Well, look at me. I'm talking all about my godsons and forgetting that this was supposed to be a birthday shout out for their dad. Oops, sorry, Big Kedrick. Well, you guys know I'm a sucker for the kiddies. Happy belated birthday, Kedrick Sr. He turned 1 year older and wiser on February 21st. Let's see. I also have some more birthday shout-outs. Happy birthday shout-outs to my beloved Kirsten Fouché Harvey, whose birthday was February 26th. Happy birthday to James J. Bailey, the CEO of the Russell Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship here in Atlanta. His birthday was yesterday, March 3rd. Whew. All right, enough with the birthdays. You guys didn't tune in to hear birthday shout-outs. You're listening in to get a scoop dose or your fill of business. So let's talk business, shall we? All right. First, before I jump into this week's topic, I want to highlight a business and a very talented entrepreneur by the name of Kieran Spencer. He's the owner of Kieran Can Painting LLC out of Atlanta, Georgia. Kieran is a resin artist, epoxy expert, and interior painter, and does some amazing work. And Kieran, if I just butchered your name, I apologize. But I'll do my best. He currently services clients in Atlanta, New York City, and Miami, and is willing to travel to create custom designs for your home, office, or anywhere you desire. Thanks to Cortez Fountain, the owner of Fountain & Fountain Painting Company, LLC, who I highlight in episode 12, because Cortez reached out to us and shared a link of Kieran's Instagram story, and we got to see the El Paso, Texas-born, Atlanta, Georgia-raised Kieran Spencer, who uses art as a way to release stress and pain and make some beautiful works of arts within your kitchen, your bathrooms, your foyers, and anywhere else in your home, office, or wherever you desire. You have to check out his work for yourself on Facebook at Karan Khan Painting, KeronKan Painting. He's also on Instagram at Karan Khan Painting LLC. That's KeronKan Painting LLC. And then he also has another Instagram page which focuses specifically on his art, which is sleepoxy _ artist. So that's SLEEPOXY _ artist. You can call to schedule a consultation or to learn more about Karan's services at area code 678-271-8963. Let him know that you learned about him on the Don't Call It Small Business podcast. And you should also read the August 21st, 2019 VoyageATL.com article featuring Karan. I'll make sure to provide the direct link on our blog post. And then, of course, you'll be able to see it within the podcast overview. So, with that means I have to, of course, shout out Fountain & Fountain Painting Company, LLC again, right? If you need interior and or exterior painting, remodeling, pressure washing, sheetrock, staining, framing, or other commercial residential services, and you're in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, then you should consider contacting Fountain & Fountain and speak with their owner, Cartez Fountain. They are licensed, insured, and they do great work. You can call them at area code 770-727-1553. You can also see a lot of their before and after photos on Instagram at Fountain and Fountain, all spelled out. They're updating their website and building out an app with big plans to blend in tech to reach and serve more customers. So in the meantime, just connect with them via phone and social media. And please know that Fountain & Fountain is currently running a special for interior painting with 2 rooms of your choice using 3 gallons of premium paint for only $525. Yes, you heard that right. So contact Cartez at Fountain & Fountain today at area code 770-727-1553 and let them know you heard about them and their $525 sale, or special, I should say, on the Don't Call It Small Business podcast. All right. It's now time to pivot slightly. Today's episode is about finding and selecting the right team members for your company. I can recall the first time I recruited and hired employees. I was around, like age 22 or 23. I was the Senior VP of Business Affairs for Dog Foundation Records, the record imprint of the late great hip-hop legend Nate Dogg. And we needed an office staff, promo team, and we needed them quickly. I remember the strain of drafting the job descriptions and postings, placing the ads, filtering phone inquiries, and the group and one-on-one interviews that I conducted. Back then, I was recruiting with the intent of just getting a position filled. Oh my goodness, if only I knew then what I know now. I spent more time weeding out bad seeds, groupies, and incompetent space taker-uppers. You know what I mean? Like people who take jobs just to take up space, time, and your money. Yeah, I recruited a ton of them and hired a few of them. At age 22, 23, I didn't really know what it meant to cast the right net, recruit the best fruits, and train and develop with intentionality. I figured that since I was a fast learner, that others would just get in where they fit in and figure it out just like I did. I did, however, hesitate to hire a boyfriend-girlfriend situationship. Yeah, because I considered the dynamics of having this couple working together. The boyfriend would help to head up our promo team, and the girlfriend would be my assistant. Yeah. My dad recommended this as a favor to someone he knew. Let me tell you, that nepotism stuff can be a doozy. My assistant was more of my student than she was ever an assistant. She wanted to fetch me food and coffee because that's what she saw assistants do. I would always shock her and say, well, let's just go grab some coffee and food together. Because I didn't need her to go grab me the food. I needed her to do some work. I spent countless hours teaching her how to type, file, draft memos and letters, properly answer and route calls, and a litany of other things. Our office was in downtown Long Beach at the World Trade Center, and there's great views of the city, but I couldn't appreciate them because I work so dadgum much. I mean, sometimes I work 20-hour days in that office, and that's because in addition to my work, I was doing the bulk of my assistant's work. I would be dog tired, and I knew I couldn't drive home, so I would walk from our parking garage at the World Trade Center to the Hilton Hotel next door, and that's when I got my first Hilton Honors card. I always kept a suit and a pair of my little dainties in a garment bag hanging on the back door of my office door so that if I ever stayed at the hotel, I'd have a change of clothes to return to work the next day. It didn't make sense to drive all the way home, shower, get dressed, and then drive all the way back to Long Beach. So I just made sure that I always had a change of clothes ready for the next day. I worked like crazy. I couldn't really delegate much to my assistant because she had no experience. It was 1997 and I was paying her, I think, about $10 an hour, which at that time was a nice chunk for an admin in California, especially one with no experience. What began to irk me was that I was cutting her check every 2 weeks just for her to hand it over to her boyfriend, who I was also cutting a check to every 2 weeks, and he was using her check to buy exotic fish and stuff for his aquarium. I know, I shouldn't have cared about what she did with her check, but I was so irritated that I was giving away money to a person who wasn't actually doing the job she was being paid for and clearly wasn't using the money to her benefit. And then I discovered that her boyfriend also wasn't pulling his weight. Oh, man. His limited experience with club promotion and stuff wasn't generating the levels of impact that I needed for the street team promotion of Nate's singles album, etc. I found myself having to walk across the hall into the promo team's office and invest a lot of time steering them in the right direction. I had to follow up and actually check to see if the street team was promoting or just collecting paychecks. Yeah. So I found out the latter was oh so very true. They would take the street team van with all of the flyers and stuff and leave for hours, return the van, and weren't even smart enough to offload the flyers, like dump those bad boys. I went to the van, and what did I find? Boxes of flyers. Like, these sapsuckers weren't even smart enough to just throw them away and make it look like they were handing them out. They were being paid to go to nightclubs, bars, shopping centers, any and everywhere possible to get the word out, to expose and inform people to what was going on with our artists, imprint, and company. Needless to say, I realized I had a lot of housekeeping to do. I began mass layoffs of the dead weight that was costing our company thousands of dollars every week. I learned a hard lesson. Heck, I learned a lot of hard lessons. Hiring the right team members means greater morale, productivity, and profits. It means happier customers. It means supporting a healthier culture within your organization. Hiring the right team members means you can delegate better and more, plan with intentionality, and work towards achievable goals. There's some steps to all of this, so I'm going to share these steps. There's 8 steps. So, what are the first steps? Step 1, you need to keep it real with yourself and ask yourself these questions. And be honest, because lying will only hurt you and your company. Question 1, why would someone want to join your team? Question 2, what makes your company special, awesome, super groovy, etc.? Question 3, what makes working with you so fun, interesting, enlightening, rewarding? Question 4, is your company stable? Is it making money? Is it making money consistently? Can you pay the bills on time and in full? Can you afford to hire and pay employees? Can you afford all of the employment taxes, insurance, etc.? Yeah, that's a big question 4. You need to be real with yourself. Question 5, is your company employee friendly? Or are you just a bunch of dog-eat-dog savages just trying to compete for the sleigh? What does your company do? What do you provide that makes people feel special and like they are truly valued and part of something special? There's a second part to part 5. Are you helping towards their work-life balance, or are you about to be a slave driver who tells them, screw your life, you work for me now? Because you guys know there's plenty of people out there like that. Answer those questions. Question 6. Does your company's mission really tap the heart of the people that want to come and work to help you fulfill the mission? If those heartstrings aren't tapped, if people aren't feeling that pitter-patter and excitement, it's a possibility that your mission is not driving them. It's a paycheck until they find a better paycheck somewhere else. So really look at your mission statement and what your mission is saying and what is it doing to inspire people to want to join and take part in it. Question 7. Will an employee feel like your company and mission possess an energy so huge that they have to be part of it? Generally, we gravitate to companies and people who are bigger than life, that make us feel like we have something big to work towards or be a part of. If it's just blah, we rarely invest the time in applying. That leads me to question 8. What are the opportunities for growth? Are there promotions? How do you recognize employees for their hard work? How do you acknowledge employees for being a part of your growing team? Or are they just another number that gets a paycheck every week, 2 weeks, or once a month? Question 9. Is your company set up like a company or like some folks who throw gum on the wall and hopes it sticks? Question 10. Are you still in the startup raw phase, although you've been a legally formed entity for a few years or several years or 20 years? And that leads me to 11. And I don't even know if this is really a question. This is more just a statement. If you're not registered with your state, you don't have an EIN, you don't even know what an EIN is, you don't have a bank account, you're not a legal business. You're working off the books, which means you can't pay employees and provide benefits on the books, which means, heck, you know exactly what it means. Get it together. Now, this, after you've completed step 1, you've really just kept it real with yourself, you answered the 10 questions. This leads to step 2. You need to conduct a job analysis to gather information about the needed skills, duties, responsibilities, outcomes, and work environment of a particular job. Let's keep it real. I believe in keeping it real. If you don't know what is needed for a job, then how can you possibly articulate this to a prospective team member? I mean, honestly, I think most people never do a job analysis before creating their job description and job posting. And I think that a lot of do-it-yourselfers create job descriptions in the midst of creating the posting, not long before. The job description is the overview for both you and the team member to see, realize, and embrace what the job is and isn't. It sets the terms for salary negotiations, promotions, etc. It's the basis for job evaluations and job audits. I mean, if I'm going to be held accountable, it's going to be based on these parameters, right? Now, once you've completed step 2, step 3 requires you to include someone else at the table to help you create a strategy for bringing aboard the right talent. You can't do this by yourself. Really, you can't. It's like the dog that chases their tail. And, you may get a snap, but you're not going to get the whole thing and not for long, right? Or you're going to snap and it's going to hurt. So you need to have someone else at the table to help you create that strategy so you can bring aboard the right talent. And as I've said before, and I'll always say, everything that glitters ain't gold, and everything that looks and sounds good may not be right. You want the right person, the right fit, the right temperament, the right personality, and the right company culture. If you want a healthy, vibrant, supportive, encouraging company culture, then you need to recruit and hire people that fit those things and possess those characteristics. If you don't have a hiring manager or other capable team member to assist you, ask a reliable and strategic thinking friend to assist. You can hire a consultant to help. Heck, here's a shameless plug for my company, Foreman Associates. We would love to assist you in this area or direct you to a firm that is a better fit, because you may not be a good fit for us. We may not be a good fit for you. But either case, you can always contact us as well. Visit foremanllc.com and find out more. Now, back to your strategy session. In this session, you should be listing and then ranking the desired characteristics of team members, listing the specific characteristics that you definitely don't want from team members. List the desired skills, education, experience candidates should possess. So look at it this way. What's the minimum that is truly required to do the job successfully and make a great contribution to the team? I say it that way because some people have gotten hung up on education and experience. And let's keep it real. Is a college degree actually necessary for the position, or could a certificate be sufficient? Or could a skills test satisfy your inquiry? Does the person really need 5 or 10 years of work experience? What if they have 2 solid proven years of success? Couldn't that outrank 5 years that could possibly be 3 years of proven work and 2 years of winging it? I mean, someone could have been throwing gum on the wall and trying to make a stick for 2 years. Understand that job recruiters have been using education as a way to discriminate for years. I remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, hearing about a janitorial position. They required at least an associate's degree. I mean, for what? Why does someone need a college degree for that job? I mean, it's no disrespect, but they didn't. And honestly, they didn't. But guess who it eliminates? A lot of people who don't meet that hiring manager or owner's biased opinions about whatever hogwash they're believing. So really, really think about what's the minimum that is truly required to do the job successfully and make a great contribution on the team. Don't be a snob about it. Don't be an elitist. Who can roll up the sleeves and get the job done right and get it done with the passion and zest that you hope for? So your next question should be, what is the desired level, right? What skills, experience would you like candidates to have? What aligns with the job analysis that you created? What would equate to less training time and cost? Because understand, the more time you spend training, the more it's going to cost you. Imagine if I had done a job analysis at Dog Foundation Records. I could have easily known and said up front which candidates would struggle and possibly succeed versus those who would fail on site. I did know that I preferred a person with some admin experience who I could delegate some admin tasks to. I did know I preferred people that had some understanding of promotion and marketing, right? They could hustle. And I knew that I wanted people that had certain types of characteristics, integrity, goodness. And those are the things that you look for. So your next thing that in your strategy session you should sit down and ask yourself is, what is the ultimate level that would have you desperately trying to hire the person, like on site right then and there? Like, you don't want them to leave the interview table. This is your dream candidate that you know, if given the opportunity, they could easily be promoted to handle major projects and, depending on the position, even one day take over the reins for you. I know you're like, what? Oh, no. But you should always be looking for your replacement. I mean, are you really going to continue doing the same job for the rest of your life? If you're an entrepreneur, wasn't one of your reasons for starting a business to have freedom of time? Well, when will you get the time if you're always working and grinding non-stop? At some point, you need a succession plan. What happens if your job becomes vacant because you physically can't do the job anymore, or because you pass away. I mean, you will transition from this life. So, who will reign over your kingdom or queendom when you no longer can? Think about it. Plan for this. What skills and experience would your replacement need to bring to the table to win you over? Then, you need to sit back and think in your strategy session. What will candidates have to submit besides their resume to be considered for an interview? I mean, will they have to submit a cover letter, which is standard? Maybe a video where they respond to questions that you provide in the job posting. Maybe they have to provide a sample of their work or a link to their website or online portfolio. And in that way, you can see the projects they've done, collateral they've written, artwork, songs, etc. Something else you need to consider is how can they best stand out from the crowd of candidates. You have to give them the opportunity to do it early on. Maybe you have them do a pre-assessment or answer some questions about various scenarios that they could face legally, ethically, or with clients. Now, after doing these things, you should then determine the best places to list your job posting, because not all sources are equal or appropriate. Now, here's some things to consider. Are you going to post jobs on your company website? Will you use LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster, Facebook, or some other site? Will you post your classified ad on newspaper-related websites? I mean, you can pay for a print or online ad. And yes, there are still people buying and reading paper newspapers, believe it or not. Whichever option you select, make sure that your ad pops like pow wow, whoop whoop. It needs to sparkle and pizzazz, calling out to the best of the best candidates to apply. Something else when you're thinking about job postings, I mean, will you spread the word through your trade show booths, chamber of commerce, networking groups, fraternities and sororities, alumni association, other business associations, or through other outlets? I don't know, maybe you put something in the church bulletin. I don't know. But if you're clueless about associations and the various types, you can visit the American Society of Association Executives at asaecenter.org. That's asaecenter.org. Some other options to consider are if you're going to use headhunters, recruiters, and employment placement firms. If so, do your homework and make sure you have it in your budget to use them. Yeah, because you're going to expect to pay between 20 and 35% of the cost of the new recruit's annual salary. Yeah, it ain't cheap. But guess what? For the best of the best, it may be a great return on your investment. You can also consider temp agencies, especially if you want to try before you buy. Well, okay, that didn't sound right. So try a person out in a position, right? Or if you want to staff a position you're not sure you need long term. Temp agencies handle all the hard work on the front end for you, like the background check, screenings, drug testing, assessments, etc. And they do so for a nominal fee. All you have to do is your personal interviews and give the okay for the candidate to come aboard. I used to work for temp agencies from age like 18 to 21. I actually really loved it, especially because they paid me weekly. I love the flexibility. I love that I could work for different companies and get a great insight for how they worked. I remember working for Guthy Rinker that way and some other companies. So those are some options. Or you can ask your current team members. So if you currently have employees, you can ask current team members for quality referrals that they would, bet at least 1 month's salary on. I mean, they have to take it seriously, right? So if they just willy-nilly just throw out some names of people that they would not risk their jobs over, then they just don't need to add those names to the bucket, right? So maybe you kind of make light of it, like, would you bet a month's salary on Jimmy? And if they say, oh, no, then say, okay, well, then Jimmy should not be thrown in the midst. Like, it shouldn't happen. But think of possible rewards for employees who refer quality candidates who remain with the company for at least 1 year. You could also reward the employee again if the candidate is still with the company and thriving in 5 years, 10 years. I know you're like, what? I already rewarded them once. Yes, you can reward your referring employee multiple times for bringing in a person who's been a valuable addition to the team. If that new person has helped your team generate 2 times the clients or 2 times the revenue or whatever consistently, they should be rewarded. And it'd be extra cool to give the person who brought them to the company something special too. That, of course, means that both employees would need to still be on your team in 5 to 10 years, right? So you're not going to send a check to someone they quit a year after your new hire was, came on board and they feel like they're entitled to some kind of reward later. No. So, of course, you put in those parameters. Now, back to your recruiting efforts. You want a good sized pool of candidates. Not too big, not too small. Too big, and you'll definitely overlook more than 60% of candidates. Too small, and you will be begging to fill a seat. And that desperation may lead you to just hiring a warm body. Unless the job is a seat filler to ensure that no one else sits in a chair at your event, you don't just hire a warm body. Other than that, and honestly, even a seat filler still needs to be screened. I mean, because you can end up with a wild child who acts up and ruins part of your entire event. Make sense? Like, if you don't know exactly what a seat filler is, when you have those award shows, the Grammys and Oscars, they always have seat fillers so that because people love to like tiptoe down and sit in another seat that's closer to the stage that is not their assigned seat. So what the production team, they do is they'll put seat fillers to make sure that no one sits in that seat except for the assigned person. But you still want to make sure that you're not hiring, a wild child, someone who just flips the script right there and makes your whole event look like, anyway, you get my drift. Now, at that point, once you've gotten to all of these things, you'll need to decide in your strategy session who will be responsible for conducting interviews. Please, 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 please be mindful and intentional with this. Don't be casual or you will get backhanded at some point. I'm telling you from experience. Are you having multiple people interview candidates at one time or in rounds or stages? How are you going to do it? I learned years ago while interviewing for a financial advisor position with American Express, there is a reason why certain positions require 5 or 6 interviews. They're slow to hire, so they can ensure that the time and money that they're investing in the recruitment and training of a candidate will result in a high return of their investment. Each of my interviews was with different people and sometimes with multiple people, and I learned that each person was gathering as much intel about my personality, skills, characteristics, quirks, whether I would make a good fit with their culture, and if I could meet the needs of their clients. They don't want to lose money wasting precious time with duds and lemons. Trust me, you aren't trying to make lemonade with those lemons. At most, you're tossing the lemons in the garbage disposal with some ice and flipping the switch. Yeah, you just want some good smelling, but that's it. Other than that, they're going in the trash and you're moving on. So be mindful of that. Who's taking part in the interview process? And then the next step is in this phase is to plan out the interview and follow-up process. Are the interviews in person, online, a combination of both? Determine questions for telephone, email, and job board screening of candidates. Because guess what? There's always going to be someone who's going to call, email, or they're going to post some kind of inquiry within the job board. What questions do you have, and what answers will you have for questions that come in? Does that make sense? Because you're going to need to have some questions to start screening out people, and you need to be able to have answers for any inquiries that come in. Then determine how you will engage with candidates. Will you create autoresponders that provide the candidate with links to subscribe to a company newsletter? Maybe you can create a special mini newsletter that's geared solely to job candidates. and or maybe a link to a video sharing more about the company or an inside look into the jobs and the work culture. You can also send periodic updates about other job openings. Whatever you do, don't be like so many other companies who allow people to spend time applying for a job and you're too busy to let them know you got their application or resume and too busy to tell them that they don't meet your criteria or whatever. Remember, this is like dating. You're trying to attract quality candidates and you're doing whatever it takes to highlight all of your good and great qualities to entice them to pick you. And they're doing the exact same thing in return. If they feel that you ghosted them by listing a job but never saying boo after they submitted their application, then they won't feel inclined to come back for a do-over. Now, considering that, you need to make sure that you outline interview questions and determine which are focused on behavior, experience, skills, or other factors. So, will there be role-playing, scenarios, problem-solving? Will there be pre-employment assessments, as I mentioned earlier, to determine if they can really walk the walk or if they just have a fancy-smancy resume filled with fluff? Whatever you do, make sure that you follow all state and federal laws concerning what you can and can't ask and do in a job interview, please. You don't want to find yourself facing a lawsuit because you asked an inappropriate question or had them do something that crossed more lines than you can pay for in a settlement. It was hilarious. I think it was like a week or two ago for one of my HR management classes. I had my students role-playing interviews. And they were doing a group interview with one candidate, and then they would reverse and have one interviewer with a group of candidates. And so within this group interview, they had the single candidate, and he was male. And one of the interviewers in this mock interview was just about to start asking him questions about him being married and all this other stuff. And it was I was so glad that my other students stopped her and said, you're crossing some lines here. And so just stopped her in time. But understanding that there's certain things that you just can't do, whether it's against the law or it's inappropriate, you just need to know up front. Now, what is the criteria? Or what are the criteria and questions that the interviewers will need to use and ask themselves to help qualify or disqualify a candidate? You need to have that mapped out up front. It shouldn't be something that you're dealing with on the back end. All of this should be mapped out up front so that you already know how to quickly navigate and purge and decipher and scoot through candidates. So make sure that you outline upfront in this strategy session what's the criteria and questions that the interviewers will need to use and ask themselves to help qualify or disqualify a candidate. What's the onboarding and training process look like? So, is there a welcome packet? Do you have all the state, county, federal paperwork for them to complete upon hiring? What information, tools, and resources will they need on the first 5 days after being hired? What will they need their first week on the job, right? Because they could be hired and then they don't start their job for, another 1 week, 2, 3 weeks. But what do they need those first 5 days? And then when they are literally on a job site or they literally have gotten their stuff, what are they going to need to get going? Know before you push both of you in the deep end of the pool. I have seen with clients and other people that I've worked with where they hire people and then there's folks who don't have laptops, no phones, they're like, well, what am I can't even do my job. So you need to make sure all of these things are mapped out, and it's really great if you have various worksheets and you have something that's built into a database that can possibly even have some auto triggers or things or autoresponders that will then, once you hire someone, they'll send out emails or some kind of alerts to different members of your team based on the roles they play in issuing out various resources to that new hire. So have that stuff already outlined. Now, once you've completed all of this, posted your job listing, and started receiving resumes and inquiries, you're ready for the next stage, which is step 4. Step 4, you need to really invest the time in reviewing and verifying the information on an applicant's resume and all their other paperwork. Trust me, I've seen some of the most ridiculous nonsense put on resumes, and people confidently submit them assuming that you won't check and verify. Pre-screen, pre-screen, pre-screen. When I was a corporate recruiter, that was one of the most hilarious things because I would check and I'm like, you didn't think I was going to check? But guess what? Some people don't. So save yourself the time and money of sitting down in front of people who are only there for a paycheck. Do as much verifying as you can before the interview. By the second interview, you should have already checked on their professional and academic references. I'll never forget a client of mine who hired an office manager who listed on her resume a college that didn't even exist. Yeah. It wasn't until I saw her balled up resume in a trash can and I brought it to his attention that clearly she was looking for a new or second job and that, hey, did you verify her information before hiring her? Oh, okay. So why am I asking? Well, because this school she has listed, yeah, it doesn't exist. My client looked like he ate something that was regurgitating in his mouth as we spoke. Oh my gosh, I felt so bad for him. He assumed her information was legit. Guess what? She was betting that he would assume exactly that. Guess what else? He later found out that she was using his client file to find sugar daddies to help pay for her lifestyle. Guess who had to be fired from her job? Yep, fake degree lady. Check the information, people. If the job you're posting requires a person with a master's degree in science, you better confirm that they have a master's degree in science. It's been awarded. And not that they just took some classes at the school, or worse, that they watched science experiments on TV and YouTube. If it needs a degree, if it truly requires a degree, confirm they have the degree. If they listed that they worked for a company for X number of years, call the company, verify this, as well as the role and responsibilities the candidate performed while employed there. Don't be lazy with this. It will definitely bite you in the butt. It cost my former client a ton of money he could never recoup. Now, this leads to step 5, interview time. Be prepared, but don't be stuffy. Going into the interview, you should already know the answer to the candidate's question. Here's the question. You ready? How soon will I hear back from you to know if I got the job? That's what at least 50% of candidates ask that question. So tell them before they ask. What else would you want to know about the job, the company, the people who work there, the customers you serve, the ups and downs? Share it with them. You want them to know what they are signing up for. Is it going to feel like Disneyland or Dante's Inferno? Be honest. Let them know. Since you already invested a lot of time in studying their resume, the day or days of their interview should not be you learning the resume. Now's the time to sit and have a conversation and let them share the scoop on what isn't on that resume. Take the interview as serious as you want them to take it. You would be offended if they didn't know jack crap, excuse my language, about your company. So how do you think they feel when it's clear the first time you actually read their resume or application was when you sat before them on the day of their interview? That is one of my biggest pet peeves, and I've sat across from people who have my resume, my application, which I don't know why I have to fill out the application if you have my resume, but whatever, and you're sitting there and you're now figuring me out now. Well, what were you doing the days leading up? Because the resume was submitted weeks ago. We scheduled this, a week ago, and you had all this time. Don't be that interviewer, okay? This leads to step 6. Follow your gut during and after the interview. If something isn't rubbing you right, figure out why and either resolve it through follow-up questions and inquiry or disqualify the candidate. If something has you giddy and excited like a child, then follow through. If a candidate has been disqualified, please follow up with a letter, email, whatever, explaining this and possibly providing background information as to why, such as a lack of experience or fake credentials or a non-existent college, whatever. If they, on the other hand, are eligible to apply for another position, be sure to provide this information so they can try again. Now, I'm going to say this, and you better listen, because I don't want to hear someone complain about this after they've heard this episode. You ready? Avoid hiring someone just because A, they went to your alma mater or attend your church. So what? So do hundreds of other people. B, they're family or friends of someone you know. Nepotism and cronyism can beat you down and leave you dazed and confused in the aftermath. C, you're attracted to them. Oh, jeez. Look, take a picture. It'll last longer. This isn't a date. This is business. Don't eat where you crap and don't crap where you eat. Trust me, it will save you time, money, peace of mind, and a bunch of valuable things. And that leads me to, I think I'm at D. They remind you of you. Are you sure you want another you in the company? Maybe you need someone opposite of you. Maybe you need someone who can provide you with context that may differ yours, so you can have multiple perspectives, not just yes men and women. You need innovators, not sheep. E, their resume fits the job description. Oh. But do they fit your team, your company culture, the clients you serve? Don't just do it because of that. That leads me to F. You don't have any other candidates, and for that reason, you should get an F. Okay, so you don't have any other candidates. Go back to the drawing board. Just because you only have one candidate left doesn't mean they are the only candidate in the galaxy. Roll up your sleeves and get back to work. Now, we finished step 6. You now cruise into step 7. Step 7 is when you found the one or ones. When you've completed all the interviews, confirmed that they're legit and as sparkly as their resume reflects, then you need to offer them the position. But don't be all casual and whatever about it. Create an offer letter that represents you, your brand, the image that you want your team members to embrace about what it means to be part of company ABCXYZ. Be proud. Let them be proud. This leads to step 8, the final step. Can you believe it? We're at the final step. Yes, the final step is to execute and implement all of the onboarding stages that you planned during your strategy stage. Celebrate the newest member of your team. Invest in them as you want them to invest in your company. And you will both enjoy the experience and the relationship. Well, folks, it's that time again. Time to wrap up and go our separate ways until next week. If you have questions or suggestions about this show, please email them to don'tcallitsmallbiz@gmail.com. I have a quote. I found a blog post from Sapling HR and it was in 2018 that said this about hiring and onboarding employees. It said, take the time to research your competitors, but never ever try to be like them. Your value proposition is about your company's story. It's what makes for a unique success in the industry. Create a 100% original value statement that honors your vision and what you want candidates to know about your future. They should be able to see themselves there too. Now that is an awesome summation of today's episode. With that, be sure to check us out on Facebook at Foreman and Associates and on Instagram and Twitter at Foreman LLC. Be sure to also follow us and share us with your friends, colleagues, and family. And of course, you can follow me, little old me, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Natasha L. Foreman. Reach out, say hello, share your story. I look forward to meeting you. I want to make sure I give proper credit for our show theme song. It's by Shane Ivers and it's called Higher Up. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Don't Call It Small Business Podcast, for sharing these episodes with others, and for your continued support. And don't forget what I tell you on each and every episode. Don't call what you're planning, thinking, dreaming, or doing little or small. Go big, go bold, or go nowhere. I'll see you here next week for episode 33 of Don't Call It Small. Have a super awesome day and week. And don't forget, check out Karan Spencer of Karan Can Painting, and be sure to check out Cartez Fountain of Fountain and Fountain, both in Atlanta, Georgia. See you all soon.